There's a fascinating story playing out right now, behind closed doors, in the boardrooms and server rooms of some of America's biggest tech companies. It's a secret they're not really advertising, and honestly, it's probably going to change how you think about the entire global tech race.
Okay, think about some huge American companies. I'm talking about Pinterest, Airbnb, even that new AI search engine, Perplexity. These are household names, right? Pillars of American innovation. You've probably used at least one of them this week. They feel as American as apple pie.
But what's the thread connecting them? Beyond just being successful US companies, they all share this one specific, and for a lot of people, a really surprising connection. It's a strategic choice they're making, kind of under the radar, that points to a much, much bigger trend.
And here it is. They, and according to a lot of industry insiders, dozens of other Fortune 500 companies, are quietly building huge parts of their future on artificial intelligence that was developed in China.
So what's going on here? Is this some big, complex geopolitical statement? Well, the short answer is no, not at all. This story is about something way more practical. It's just good business.
I mean, it really just boils down to this. When Airbnb's CEO Brian Chesky was asked why his company uses an AI model from the Chinese tech giant Alibaba, he didn't give some long strategic answer. He just said, very good, fast, cheap. That's it. 6 syllables that pretty much explain this entire massive shift.
Okay, very good, fast, cheap. That sounds great, right? But let's actually dig into the data that's driving these huge boardroom decisions, because the numbers behind this story are, well, they're pretty staggering.
So everything really kicked into high gear about a year ago. A Chinese lab called DeepSeek dropped a model that could do what ChatGPT could do, but for a tiny fraction of the cost. People in tech called it a Sputnik moment. That sudden shock when you realize the competition is way further along than you thought. But you know what it really was? It was a permission slip for every CFO in America to start looking east.
So just how good are we talking about here? Well, let's take Pinterest. They're trying to turn their platform into a big AI shopping assistant. And their chief technology officer said the Chinese open-source models they tested were a full 30% more accurate than the leading American options. I mean, that's not just a little better, that is a massive leap in performance.
And look, this isn't just a one-off thing. Check out where the developer community is actually spending its time. On Hugging Face, which is kind of like the GitHub or the App Store for AI models, 4 out of the 5 top trending models right now are from Chinese labs. That's where all the energy and momentum is.
And if you need any more proof about the sheer scale of this adoption, here you go. For the longest time, Meta's Llama was the undisputed king of open-source AI. Well, not anymore. Alibaba's model family, called Qwen, is now the most downloaded. The global developer community has literally voted with their clicks.
So how do we get here? How did this happen so fast? Well, this massive shift is no accident. It's the direct result of 2 completely different philosophies, 2 opposing strategies for how you win the future of AI.
On one side, you've got the dominant US strategy. Build these huge, closed models. They're proprietary, like a secret Coca-Cola formula, and they're locked behind paywalls and API fees. The goal is this long-term, super expensive chase for artificial general intelligence. But on the other side, you have the Chinese strategy. Release incredibly powerful models as open source. It's like a public recipe anyone can use and improve. Their strategy is all about winning the floor, getting the tech into as many hands as possible, right now.
So this leads to a pretty wild irony, and it comes from Nick Clegg, a former top executive at Meta. In this great tech competition between the world's biggest autocracy and the world's biggest democracy, it's actually China that is doing more to democratize the technology. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up.
And hey, this isn't just some hot take. A really deep report from Stanford's AI Index completely backs this up. Their conclusion is that Chinese models aren't just playing catch-up anymore. In both their actual capability and, more importantly, in real-world adoption, they seem to have caught up or even pulled ahead.
But, this isn't just about the models themselves. It's about building an entire ecosystem around them at an incredible speed, an ecosystem designed to power an AI-driven economy.
The scale here is just wow. Since just 2023, thousands of new AI tools and applications have been officially registered in China's public algorithm database. We are talking about a Cambrian explosion of new software, all built on top of these powerful, open models.
And what's really interesting is who is building all this stuff. It's not just a bunch of tech startups in Beijing. A full 22% of these tools come from state-linked enterprises,
We're talking heavy industry, like oil companies, the national power grids, and advanced manufacturing. This is deep, industrial-level adoption.
And the pace of this whole ecosystem is just relentless. Remember DeepSeek, the model that caused that Sputnik moment just a year ago? Well, it's already been overtaken in popularity inside China by Doubao, a chatbot from ByteDance. The competition is absolutely fierce, and the innovation cycle is happening at lightning speed.
Okay, so we've seen the data, we've seen the strategy, we've seen the ecosystem. But what does this all actually mean? Let's distill this down into a few really clear takeaways.
Let's break this down from 3 different angles: for the builders who are actually creating things with AI, for the investors who are trying to fund the future, and for the strategists who are trying to make sense of it all.
All right, first up for the builders, the engineers, the developers out there. The big lesson here is you've got to broaden your toolkit. The best AI model for your project might not come from Silicon Valley anymore. These Chinese open-source models are powerful, they're cheap, and they're ready for production. Ignoring them isn't some principle stand, you're just leaving performance and money on the table.
Next, for the investors, it is absolutely crucial right now to separate 2 different stories. You have the US narrative, which is often focused on hype, massive valuations, and this long-term chase for AGI. And then you have the practical, on-the-ground deployment momentum that's happening in China. One story is about future potential, the other is about what's actually in production today. You have to know which is which.
And finally, for the strategists and business leaders, it might be time to completely reframe what the AI race is even about. It is not about who announces the biggest model with the most parameters, and it's not about who raises the most venture capital. The real race is about who ships tools that people and businesses actually use, integrate, and end up relying on every single day.
So, look, the game has clearly changed. The race has shifted from some theoretical sprint towards a far-off finish line to a practical marathon of real-world adoption. The question isn't whether China can compete in AI anymore. It's whether American tech has even noticed that the race itself is different now.